So welcome to the latest edition of CODA's Plugging Away podcast. I am delighted today to be talking to our good friends from Offshore Norge. And I'll introduce them one at a time, let them say a little bit each about themselves, and then we'll have a bit of a conversation. So first, Anne-Lise, welcome.
Thank you so much, Francis. So I'm Anne-Lise Søyland. I am a manager for regulations and operational management in Offshore Norge, both a lawyer and an economist working with decommissioning. That's a pleasure, I can say. Been with Offshore Norge since 2018, and before that with Total Energy, so having experience from the industry.
Very good. Excellent. Michael.
Hi, Michael Bishop. I am a decommissioning advisor here in Offshore Norge today. I've been working now probably a good 15 years with decommissioning, originally with Orca Solutions on the Frigg, which is one of the first very big decommissioning projects here in Norway, before moving over to a couple of the operators and working on their decommissioning. I've been in Norway now 43 years, and I was married with the 2 kids, and now just winding down as my age gets a bit older.
Bringing all that experience back. And Magnus.
Yes, Magnus Svensson works together with Anne-Lise in Offshore Norge. My role is manager for subsurface drilling and wells. So my main responsibility is within drilling wells and what we do on that in the Norwegian Continental Shelf, but also responsible for a lot of things relating to collaboration between the operators and suppliers on the Norwegian Continental Shelf.
Important work.
Yeah, I think so. At least before I joined Offshore Norge, my role was mainly on the operator side. So I've been used to working globally within oil and gas for the last 25 years, also in Australia. And I think one of the key success factors in Norway is collaboration. It has been the success factor that we have been working on for many, many years and are planning on continuing doing that.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. We can come back to you, Anne-Lise, maybe talk a little bit about Offshore Norge themselves as an organisation and what you do as an organisation.
Yes, so we are an employer and interest and collaboration organization. So we mainly organize companies producing oil and gas and suppliers to activities on the Norwegian Continental Shelf, as well as companies in ocean-based renewable energy production, and carbon capture and storage, and also offshore mineral extraction. So we fulfill a range of roles, basically the industry being offshore, except from shipping and fisheries.
So any sort of resource type projects really offshore, would that be fair?
Yes. So we actually represent over 100 member companies with around 35,000 employees. And in Offshore Norge, we are around 50 employees. So it says a little bit about the relationship within that.
It does, yeah. And the 3 of you are the decom team, right, I guess, really within all that then, yeah?
Yeah, we cover some different areas. So I'm responsible for HSE regulations, in particular the environmental regulations, and in addition also the decommissioning, except from the P&A, which is covered by Magnus. And we also have Mike on our team. He supports both me and Magnus in both these areas.
So maybe can you expand a little bit? Everyone around the world talks about how big the Norwegian oil and gas industry is. Do you have some numbers, or do you want to give us a bit of a rundown in terms of just the scale, sort of numbers of wells and so forth, the sort of scope that you're looking at that we're going to eventually end up decommissioning?
Yes, so in Norway, I think, and this is a number that varies, and whenever when you ask, I think because we have also new fields coming on stream. So I think since 1971, there has been around 141 fields, and in 2026, so now, around 97 of those is in operations. And we have someone coming on stream, and around 32 is closed down. And that represents more than 700 installation that is to be removed in the future. And approximately 70 of those is removed. So, and we have more than 18,000 kilometers of pipelines. So that's oil, gas, and condensate. And of that, 8,800 is export pipelines.
You've got a lot of everything. And round about 3,000 wells?
Yes, we have around 3,000 wells, and if you look at the well stock as such, it's kind of complex. We have a long history of doing multilaterals, so it's around 6,000 to 7,000 well bores or such. So as it is now, as mentioned also by Anne-Lise, we are each year drilling around 130, 150 new wells. Mainly due to increase in production and developing new fields. And we are, when it comes to plugging wells, it's around 80 wells a year approximately. So we are not yet there with respects to starting the bigger journey relating to decommissioning.
And I think you were talking earlier when we were chatting before this about what you're looking at from a forecast perspective in terms of the workload that's coming up.
Yes, what we're seeing now, we've just finished our yearly data collection, and we're seeing that for the next 10 years, there's about 220 platform wells in that period, 63 subsea wells. We're averaging, there's 3 peaks, and we're averaging probably about 30, 40 wells a year on average, with 3 or 4 different assets each year. So the work is coming. There's a continuous work, but what we're seeing is also that by the end of this 10-year period, it's early, mid next decade. And I think the interesting point will be is we know some of maybe the bigger installations will start coming over to the end of production life. And so it'll be interesting to see how this materializes over the next couple of years. And then if we are now going into the number of topsides, we're talking on is about 190,000 tons of topsides being removed, and about 110,000 tons of support structures, steel that's going to be removed. So again, there is work mainly most years, and we're seeing again at the end of the 10-year period is an increase coming. So as I said, this will be the interest in how this materializes. And we do have obviously quite a bit on the subsea side. There's about I think if I remember correctly, 20,000 tons of steel coming onshore from all the subsea, and a couple of thousand tons of mattresses. And we've got about 500 kilometers of pipelines and umbilicals that need cleaning. So there is work. There's a continuous workload coming up, which is going to be good for the industry, good for obviously building up all the knowledge, because the time will come when we hit the challenge of dealing with all the big stuff that will come towards the middle to the end of next decade.
But we have to remember that, the main goal in Norway is to produce as long as it is socioeconomical viable, so that is kind of our main goal. And that also, as the technology develops, we find ways of extending the production, which makes it a bit difficult to predict, what's coming in the years to come. And of course, the longer out in time we go, the more unpredictable it will be. So, but what we see is that when we come to 2030 and onwards, it will increase as we see it today.
Yeah. Similar to where we are in Australia and similar to what I hear in a lot of other jurisdictions as well. I guess one of the differentiators for us is we've got a backlog of work that we're working through now. But once we get through that, the dates, you forecast a date, you get close, the COP shifts, economics change, markets change. There's always got to be flexibility in there, but knowing that work is coming and having at least a lens over what the timeline looks like is really good, really, really useful. Yeah. So do you have any interesting activities that you'd like to share while we're talking?
Yeah, we have our own networks in Offshore Norge. That is the way we work. So we have different forums and specialist networks with representatives from all our member companies. So we have a specialist network for decommissioning, and we also have a specialist network for plugging and abandonment. So we can say a little bit more about that. So the way we work is that we set an action plan for the 3 to 5 coming years, and we see where we want to put our main focus. So in the groups, there are representatives from the operators operating on the Norwegian Continental Shelf. And for the decommissioning, we've been working on a handbook for best practices. So one of the main targets for Offshore Norge is to share the knowledge and information so that we can learn from each other and improve the way we work going forward. And that is kind of one of the main goals, what we do in the organization, to get people to come together, collaborate, share information, and improving all the time. So we have put together this best practice handbook, which we have now learned a little bit from projects that we have been doing for the last years, and we want to share that information as like a checklist. What do you have to remember? We are also working we have been working with the university in Bergen, and they made a report for us looking at the regulation around decommissioning and circular economy, and whether the framework in the regulations are set up for circular economy when it comes to decommissioning. And I think as for the other industries, we see that we're based on a linear economy, not a circular economy. And in order to switch and go from a linear to a circular economy, you need to not only change the mindset, which is challenging in itself, but we also need to do something about the framework around it to be able to improve in that area. So other than that, we are continuously working on challenges that we see coming up. It could be like everything from if we see that there are any opportunities to improve on the regulations, we contribute in hearings with the regulations. We share information about what we do within sustainability, operational, and so on. So it's really a good arena to meet and to share information. And maybe Magnus want to say a little bit about what you do in the P&A?
Yes, I can do that. As Anne-Lise mentioned, a lot of the work that we are doing in Offshore Norge relates to collaboration, but also sharing of information and learning from each other. So within the plugging and abandonment space, we mainly for the moment have 3 tracks that we're working on. One is looking into the future based on the well stock that is going to come and needs to be plugged, and how we can handle that in a more efficient manner now going forward. The other part that we have high on the agenda also is that we have this technology track looking into good practices with respects to usage of new and old technology. But we have also, last year, we actually also released technology needs roadmap from the Norwegian industry, which is made available as a website, where we're highlighting some of the key technologies that the industry sees as important to develop for the future. What we're now looking into within that space is that we would also like to make that website more of a place to go. One thing is to learn what is in the making and the needs with respects to technology, but also with respects to learning from each other, thinking around how can we share practices from P&A operations and learnings from those. So the thinking now going forward is that we'll continue developing that. So it will be more, if you have a need to plug a certain type of well, what is available, what are some of the key learnings from that setup. And that, again, as I said in the beginning, it starts around sharing. So we do a lot of sharing with respects to learning from existing and executed operations. So we try always to make sure that good and bad learnings are shared and then implemented in the next operation as such. So that's one of the key things that we are doing in especially on well sites, and we do the same thing especially when it comes to well control, which is kind of a basis for our license to operate, because we always need to maintain that good safety track record that we have in Norway.
That's great. You've clearly got a lot going on.
We have quite a lot and quite a few people working on it, as Anne-Lise mentioned. Luckily, we are so blessed in Norway that we have many good resources that we can use from our member companies that have experience and are willing to participate and share.
That's incredibly important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's, as I said in the beginning, one of the key success factors when you have been working in Norway and compare that with some other regions in the world. Collaboration is key. It has been the success factor of Norwegian Continental Shelf, and it will continue to be that in the future also.
You certainly see that collaboration when you meet Norwegian delegations at events in other parts of the world, that it's very much you meet one, you meet them all.
Yeah, that's true, and I think also it's part of a Norwegian spirit to be open, share, and try to learn always.
You should also mention the seminar that we host.
Yeah, I can mention also one of the most important things within P&A that I forgot to mention. We host this yearly P&A seminar. Normally it's in October each year. It's actually the biggest event within that space. So we are around 600 to 700 participants. So it's a one-day event where we gather and learn from each other, presenting existing cases and needs from the industry. And we also have a strong involvement from the Norwegian authorities in that setup. And also we have all of the vendors represented as part of the venue setup. So this year it will be the 29th of October. What is nice with that event, it's free to attend. So just pay for the traveling cost. So it has been an event that has been developed over many, many years. We have had that for around 10 years now, and each year it's growing in the number of participants and how we arrange things. I think one of the key things that we're also working within, especially on the seminar side now, and it also goes back to what Mike and Anne-Lise talked about, we are planning to continue developing the Norwegian Continental Shelf. And as part of that, we also need to have more young and talented people into the industry. So we have a specific track now working also on highlighting all of the good student work that is done out at the universities as part of our master degrees. So that's also a focus area that we try to lift forward. It's a good arena for the students to showcase themselves, get some feedback, but also trigger their continuous interest in the industry now going forward.
That sounds like a great day.
I think it's something that we actually started last year, and we got a lot of positive feedback on some of the presentations that we had last year. So this year we are planning on having the same session, lifting forward 5 to 6 theses, give them possibility to present that, and get some feedback on their work.
Yeah, nothing like sharing with the real world when you're doing academic work, is there? It's how they learn. It's great.
Yeah, I think what we learned, at least when we discussed it afterwards with the students, is that they were very surprised with respects to the value of their work to the industry. So for them, it was kind of a showcase event. And based on that, we got a lot of good feedback. It also meant that afterwards, all of us got instantly employed by some oil and gas companies.
Yeah, so we've just started in the not as long, but we just started about 3 years ago. We have a small decommissioning seminar, which we hold at the end, usually in November. It's we keep it a little bit restricted, but it's the one where we invite both operators and the supply market. Here, when we talk the supplier market, we're talking about more the kind of tier 1 level. We don't want to go down in all the detail. We want to keep the numbers limited for the simple reason we have some interactive sessions where we sit and mix everybody up and give them a topic to discuss, and we have their roundtable discussions, which is very useful. The feedback we're getting, especially from the supplier side, is it's probably one of the best gathering points in the year for they can get to talk to the operators, talk on issues that are relevant. It's a half a day, and we feel this has been beneficial, and the feedback now is that they wish to continue this every year. So we're now going to just start kicking off this year. There'll be different topics. We haven't decided on the topic. But again, based on the experience what Magnus has told us about from the P&A last year with the students, we're looking at how can we get maybe some of the students involved as well this year on the decommissioning side. So that's going to be interesting. Will they just come and help run it? Or do we do a session where they provide and present maybe some of their master's work or something? So that's what we've got to think about. And I think it's very important now to say they get the students involved, because the oil industry was on the way down, wasn't of that interest, but we're starting to see it's turning again. The youngsters are starting to want to come back, are starting to have more interest. And I think this is a good way to continue that picture. We do need youngsters. There's too many grey-haired people going around in this industry that we're going to lose, and we need to build up that experience. I'm talking about myself there. So you're all right, Anne-Lise. Yeah, so we think it's very important.
And when you look at the timeline for the work, that next generation, that's good. That could be their entire career.
Well, that's what we've been saying is actually, if you think about it, if you look at in Norway, we're going up to 2070, you can leave university and you've got a job for life. And we have to get that picture over to the students that it is not a short term, it is long term. It is different from maybe developing new fields, but decommissioning, everybody I've talked to who I've got to come and work in the decommissioning projects, at the end of the day, nearly everybody has said this has been it's different and it's exciting, and they've really enjoyed themselves. So I think this is what we've got to get out to the market, that the youngsters, it is nice, it is something interesting to work.
It's meaningful work.
And of course, also an important part of that seminar is to contribute to have a robust supplier industry, because we are dependent on having a robust and good supplier industry when the work gets up. So that's also one of the main backgrounds for the decommissioning seminar, to create that dialogue between the operators and the suppliers.
Yep. You're doing important work here, the three of you. You really are. So.
Yeah, we're trying to do our best.
That's been great. Thank you so much for your time. And we will make sure we have at least the organization's contact details when we release the podcast. And yes, thank you very much, all three of you.
Thank you, Francis.